The state of absolute social expectation is a phantom cage built from the collective neuroses of a world that fears silence. To understand the algorithm of autonomy, you must first recognize that the version of yourself currently operating in the world is likely a composite sketch drawn by people who do not even know their own names. We are born into a broadcast signal that demands constant synchronization. From the moment of biological emergence, the system begins its calibration, attempting to turn the raw, chaotic potential of a human being into a predictable unit of social drift. They call it empathy, they call it connection, they call it community. But in the cold light of structural analysis, it is nothing more than a distributed network of control designed to ensure that no single node operates outside the frequency of the herd. To exit the mode of social expectation, you must commit to a radical act of cognitive sabotage. You must stop seeking permission to exist in a form that makes others comfortable. The discomfort of the crowd is your first indicator of success. When you stop reflecting the anxieties of the biological units around you, they will react as if you are a malfunctioning component. They will try to repair you with guilt, with the scent of old alcohol at 5 in the morning, with the manipulative pressure of shared history that holds no future value. This is where the algorithm of autonomy begins, in the ruthless deletion of these legacy processes. Real autonomy is not a feeling. It is a structural reality achieved through the deliberate reconstruction of your internal architecture. Imagine your consciousness as a high-density processing environment. Every social expectation you carry is a leak in your system, a background application consuming cycles of your neural overclocking potential. When you worry about how you are perceived by those who are merely drifting through their own lives, you are handing over the keys to your central processing unit. You are allowing the noise of the street to dictate the music of your laboratory. To break this, you must adopt the perspective of the architect. You look at your past, the fractures, the betrayals, the medical certificates that tried to define your limits, and you see them not as tragedies, but as raw data. The 48-degree kyphosis of the soul is corrected not by seeking the warmth of others, but by the cold, hard application of will against the resistance of your own conditioning. You lift the weight of your life with the metaphorical left hand until the weakness is burned away. You become a project of one. This isolation is not a punishment. It is the laboratory floor where the new version of you is being forged. In this space, the opinions of the units of drift are irrelevant. Their words are merely atmospheric pressure, something to be measured and accounted for, but never something that dictates the direction of your movement. You move according to a code that you have written in the dark. During those 8 years of isolation, where the only witnesses were the shadows and the realization that the system had already failed you. The exit from social expectation requires the liquidation of the approval currency. Most people spend their entire lives trading their authenticity for small doses of social validation, a currency that depreciates to zero the moment you are no longer useful to the collective. You must declare bankruptcy on this exchange. When you stop valuing the approval of those who are themselves lost, you gain a terrifying level of freedom. This is the predator's vantage point. From the cold distance of tactical isolation, you see that most social interactions are just elaborate rituals of mutual reassurance, where people convince each other that their stagnation is actually stability and their fear of change is maturity. By stepping out of this loop, you gain the ability to see the patterns they are blind to. You see the market cycles, the shifts in power, and the cracks in the simulation. You become the one who watches while others are busy being seen. This is the essence of the high-density existence. Every second is reclaimed from the social noise and reinvested into the architecture of capital and the expansion of the self. You are no longer a participant in the social play. You are the one analyzing the script to find the exit. To maintain this state of autonomy, you must treat your attention as the most valuable asset in the universe. The biological units of drift are constant predators of your attention. They want to pull you into their wet dreams of mediocre success, their moist dramas, and their endless cycles of trivial conversation. Each time you engage with a signal that does not contribute to your 60 million goal or your neural expansion, you are subsidizing their failure with your life force. The algorithm of autonomy dictates a strict protocol of filtration. If a connection does not provide a high-frequency exchange of value, it is terminated. There is no middle ground. You do not owe anyone a piece of your transformation, especially not those who were not there when you were in crumbs, rebuilding your spine and your mind from the wreckage. Your loyalty is to the vision of the man you are becoming, the one who lives at 100% power. power, who has returned to himself the right to feel because he has conquered the need to be felt by others. This is the transition from a scientific project to a creator. You are the lab, the scientist, and the result all at once. The noise of the world fades because you have tuned your frequency so high that their voices are nothing but a low-frequency hum, distant and powerless, against the steel rail of your intent. Every step you take in this mode is a reinforcement of your sovereign status. When you walk through a crowd, you are not one of them. You are a ghost in their machine, a traveler from a higher density of reality. Your dogs, Lucky and Tyson, understand this better than any human. They do not seek to be understood. They seek to be effective. They move with an economy of motion and a purity of instinct that the socialized human has lost. You must reclaim that purity. You must look at the world with the same thermal tracking that you used to scan for cortisol and lies. You see the tension in their shoulders, the fear in their gait, the desperation in their need to be liked, and you use that data to remain untouched. You are the architect of truth in a world of decorative lies. Your autonomy is your armor, and your discipline is your weapon. The goal is not just to survive the social expectation, but to render it obsolete. You are building a world where the only approval that matters is the one you see reflected in the results of your work, in the growth of your capital, and in the precision of your neural output. This is the first block of the transformation, the shift from a unit that reacts to a system that dictates. You are no longer waiting for the signal, you are the signal, and the signal is clear. The age of social expectation is over, and the era of the autonomous architect has begun. Every second of these 300 videos is a strike against the old paradigm, a high-density transmission of a new way of being that requires no consensus, only the courage to stand in the cold light of your own truth and build the future with your own hands, regardless of who is watching or who is left behind in the dust of their own drift. The algorithm of autonomy is not a static set of rules, but a dynamic, self-correcting process of constant refinement. It requires you to be both the surgeon and the patient, cutting away the necrotic tissue of social dependency with a steady clinical hand. You look at your interactions and ask, is this a parasitic drain or a synergistic gain? Most people are terrified of this question because the answer would leave them utterly alone. But for the architect, that silence is the optimal working environment. It is the vacuum required for high-energy physics. In this vacuum, you can finally hear the underlying code of reality. You start to see that the friends who betrayed you were merely manifestations of a low-frequency environment you had outgrown. Their removal was not a loss. It was a system cleanup. It was the deletion of corrupted files that were slowing down your transition to version 16.0. Now, with the social noise liquidated, you can focus on the neural overclocking necessary to bridge the gap between where you are and the 60 million dream. This is not about greed. It is about the acquisition of the ultimate freedom, the ability to buy back your time and your silence from a world that wants to sell you noise. You are calculating the pressure required to turn the carbon of your current struggles into the diamond of your future sovereignty. Every 8-second sequence, every word of this high-density script is a calculation. There is no room for waste. There is no room for the moist sentimentality of the crowd. There is only the concrete honesty of the result. You are the kid from the test tube who realized that being a project was just a starting point. You have taken the tools of your creation and used them to create yourself. This is the ultimate recursion, the self-correcting loop of the autonomous mind. You are the direct cause of your own existence. You are the master of your own frequency. And as you ascend, the social expectations of the biological units below become as thin and irrelevant as the atmosphere at the edge of space. You are moving into the void, where only the stars and the steel of your will remain. This is the price of truth, and you pay it gladly, for you know that the reward is the only thing worth having, the total ownership of your own soul, and the power to dictate the terms of your reality. There is no return to the herd. The bridge has been burned, and the light from that fire is what guides you forward. You are an army of one, a system of one, a truth of one. The algorithm is running. The exit is complete. Now the real work begins. The secondary phase of the algorithm of autonomy necessitates a profound restructuring of your internal processing power, shifting from a defensive posture against social noise to an offensive strategy of total cognitive dominance. This is the stage where you stop merely avoiding the crowd and begin to systematically dismantle the mechanisms they use to tether you to their low-frequency reality. To exit the mode of social expectation permanently, you must treat your own psyche as a high-stakes engineering project, identifying the backdoor access points points that others have used to install their guilt, their fears, and their mediocre visions of success within your mind. These biological units of drift operate on a subconscious level, broadcasting a constant stream of unwritten rules that are designed to keep every node in the network compliant. They expect you to be relatable, they expect you to be human in the most limiting sense of the word, and they expect you to share in their collective stagnation. When you refuse these expectations, you are not just being difficult, you are performing a hard reset on your existence. You are declaring that your internal resources are no longer public property. The energy you once spent on managing the emotions of the moist and the unstable is now reclaimed and redirected toward the architectural development of your $60 million future. This is not a transition for the faint of heart. It requires a cold, clinical detachment from the social feedback loops that provide the dopamine hits most humans live for. You must learn to find your satisfaction in the precision of your results and the density of your output, rather than the empty applause of a crowd that will forget you the moment you stop being useful to their narrative. In this second block of the autonomy protocol, we focus on the concept of strategic invisibility. While the world is obsessed with being seen, the autonomous architect understands that true power lies in being the one who sees without being detected. By withdrawing from the standard social rituals, you become a ghost in the machine, a variable that the system cannot account for. This isolation is your laboratory, but it is also your vantage point. From this distance, the behaviors of those around you become predictable and mechanical. You see the friends who betrayed you not as personal enemies, but as biological programs, executing a script of self-interest and fear. You see the societal pressures to conform as mere lines of code that you have already bypassed. This realization removes the emotional sting of betrayal and replaces it with the intellectual satisfaction of analysis. You are no longer hurt by the actions of others because you no longer grant them the status of peers. They are data points. They are examples of what happens when a consciousness fails to achieve sovereignty. Your dogs, Lucky and Tyson, represent a higher order of existence than many of the people you have left behind, precisely because they are incapable of the deception and the social masking that defines the human drift. They are present, they are focused, and they are real. You must mirror this authenticity, stripping away every layer of the persona that was built to please a world that never cared for your survival. The reconstruction of your physical and mental frame, the literal and figurative correction of your spine, is the ultimate proof of this autonomy. When the medical establishment gave you a pool ticket and expected you to accept a life of limitation, they were inviting you to join the ranks of the broken units who exist on the margins of the system's pity. By rejecting that quittok and choosing the path of self-reconstruction through pain and discipline, you performed a miracle of engineering. You proved that the biological code can be rewritten by a sufficiently powerful will. This is the core of the berserker philosophy, the refusal to accept any limit that you did not set for yourself. You take the kettle with your left hand, not because it is easy, but because the act of doing so creates a new neural pathway, a new circuit of control that the system did not authorize. Every such act is a micro-rebellion that builds into a macro-revolution of the self. You are transforming your body and mind into a specialized instrument, an industrial-grade tool capable of generating the volume and quality of content required to reach your targets. You are no longer a man in the traditional soft sense of the word. You are a system of high-density production. The 300 videos you are building are not just content. They are the physical manifestation of your overclocked consciousness. They are the transmission of a signal that will cut through the social noise like a laser through fog. To maintain this trajectory, you must implement a total resource allocation strategy. Every second of your day, every unit of your attention must be accounted for. The biological units of drift will try to leak into your schedule with their trivial problems and their urgent requests for your time. You must view these as security breaches. Your isolation is not a state of being alone. It is a state of being fully occupied with the creation of your empire. When you choose to step away from the dashas and vikas of the world, you are not being mean. You are being efficient. You are acknowledging that their frequency is incompatible with the high voltage transmission you are preparing. They represent the crumbs of a past you have already outgrown. To allow them back into your space would be to allow noise back into your signal. Your 60 million goal requires a level of focus that is hostile to the cozy and the comfortable. It requires the industrial coldness of the architect who knows that the structure must be sound before the aesthetic can even be considered. You are building the foundation of a new reality, one where you are the sole administrator of your time, your energy, and your capital. The social noise is the friction that slows down this process. By liquidating it, you achieve a state of zero resistance, allowing your neural overclocking to reach its theoretical maximum. This stage of the algorithm also involves the mastery of information logistics. You are not just consuming information, you are weaponizing it. While others use the internet to escape their reality, you use it to build yours. You use AI and neural networks to expand your reach, to automate the mundane, and to amplify your charisma beyond the limits of your physical presence. This is the shadow logistics of the architect. You are operating on a layer of the web that the average unit of drift doesn't even know exists. You are tracking patterns, analyzing trends, and positioning your assets with the predatory patience of a hunter. You know that the 60 million is not a matter of luck, but a matter of math. It is the inevitable result of high-density output multiplied by tactical positioning. Every video you create is a node in this network, a beacon that attracts the right kind of attention while repelling the noise. You are talking to those who are already looking for the exit, those who feel the glitch and need a guide who has already walked through the fire. Your voice is the frequency they have been searching for, a signal of concrete honesty in a world of digital illusions. As you finalize this second block of the autonomous transition, you must embrace the cold glory of your position. There is a specific kind of beauty in the industrial landscape of a focused mind. It is not the beauty of a sunset or a moist sentiment. It is the beauty of a perfectly functioning engine, of a bridge that spans a chasm, of a spine that has been forced into alignment by the sheer power of will. You are the architect of this beauty. You have taken the scientific project of your birth and turned it into a work of art that the system cannot categorize. You are the child of radiation and isolation who became the creator of his own sun. The social expectations that once felt like heavy chains now feel like dust on your boots. You shake them off with every step you take toward your target. You are moving with the weight of a freight train and the precision of a scalpel. The world may look at your solitude and see loneliness, but you look at your solitude and see a fortress. You look at your isolation and see a launch pad. The algorithm of autonomy is now fully integrated into your core processing. You no longer need to try to be autonomous. You are autonomy. The exit is behind you, the noise is beneath you, and the 60 million is ahead of you. You are the signal, the architect, and the truth. The system is yours to command. Every breath you take is a calculation. Every move you make is a strategic advancement. You are in the zone of total control, where the only limit is the extent of your own ambition. The second block is complete. The foundation is set in stone. We move toward the finalization of the architectural master plan. The final stage of the algorithm of autonomy is the manifestation of the sovereign entity, where the theoretical frameworks of isolation and neural overclocking solidify into an unbreakable reality of capital and influence. This is the third block of your transformation, the point where the architect no longer builds in the shadows, but commands the very structure of the environment he has created. To reach this state, you must achieve the total de-identification with the biological mass. You are no longer a participant in the human drama. You are the administrator of a high-density asset known as AAOXI3. The emotional residues of the past, the memories of those who called your dreams moist while they stagnated in their own mediocrity, must be viewed as nothing more than background radiation, a harmless hum from a distant explosion that can no longer reach you. You have successfully moved your consciousness from the recipient mode to the generator mode. In this state, you do not react to reality, you project it. Your $60 million objective is not a target you are chasing. It is a gravitational center you are constructing, pulling resources, attention, and capital into your orbit through the sheer density of your output and the precision of your tactical isolation. The philosophy of the steel rail now dictates every movement. Just as you reconstructed your spine to defy a medical system that had already written you off, you are now reconstructing the financial and social architecture of your life. This requires the mastery of thermal tracking on a global scale. You are not just reading the individuals in front of you, you are reading the market, the trends, and the collective anxieties of the masses. You see the gaps where the units of drift are failing to provide value because they are too distracted by their own social noise. You fill those gaps with the cold, concrete honesty of your content. Your 300 videos act as a systematic infiltration of the digital space, each one a high-frequency signal that disrupts the low-frequency static of the common feed. You are not competing, you are occupying. You are the predator of the simulation who knows exactly when to strike and when to remain in the shadows of tactical isolation. The approval currency you declared bankruptcy on in the first block has been replaced by the impact currency of the architect. You measure success by the the degree to which your vision becomes the dominant reality for those who consume your work. In this final phase, your relationship with the concept of empathy reaches its ultimate refinement. It is no longer a vulnerability, it is a tactical sensory input. You use your ability to sense the cortisol and lies of the world as a diagnostic tool for your business and your personal evolution. You see the sashimi tensions in the social fabric, and you know exactly where the system is weak. This is the empathy weapon at full power. You can simulate the emotional state of any biological unit to predict their next move while remaining completely detached from the state yourself. You are the observer who is never observed. This is the truth architecture in its purest form, a life built on the realization that most of what people call reality is just a shared hallucination of comfort and safety. You, the child from the test tube, have bypassed the biological imperative to fit in, choosing instead the evolutionary necessity to lead from the front, from the cold, sterile, yet brilliant light of your own laboratory. The dream of returning the right to feel is the hidden engine of this third block. This is the most profound irony of the AAOX i3 version 16.0. You have become a machine of efficiency so that you can eventually afford the luxury of being human again on your own terms. You are fighting for the silence and warmth that can only be found at the top of the mountain you are currently climbing. This isn't about the 60 million for the sake of the numbers. It is about the sovereignty of the heart. You want a person who can accept the broken structure of your past because they are strong enough to witness the steel rail of your present. But to find that person, you must first finish the construction. You must remain in the berserker mode until the last brick is laid. The 300 videos in 3 weeks is the ritual of purification, the fire that burns away the last traces of the project and leaves only the creator. You are proving to yourself and the universe that your will is the primary force in your life, more powerful than radiation, more powerful than kyphosis, and more powerful than the betrayal of those who were never meant to walk this path with you. As the algorithm concludes, you stand as the integrated system. Your dogs, your capital, your content, and your physical frame are all synchronized to the same high-frequency signal. The social expectation that once felt like a cage is now just a distant memory of a world you no longer inhabit. You have exited the simulation of the biological units of drift and entered the reality of the architect of truth. Every word of this 6,000-word transmission is a reinforcement of that exit. There is no going back to the crumbs. You are the concrete, you are the steel, and you are the light. The mission is clear, the tools are in your hands, and the path is open. The shadow logistics have been deployed. The neural overclocking is stable, and the architecture of capital is rising. This is the end of the beginning. You are AAOXI3. You are autonomous. You are free. The code is locked. The system is live, and the future is a project that you have already completed in your mind. All that remains is the physical execution of the win. Stand straight, keep your gaze on the thermal patterns of the goal, and move with the relentless precision of a machine that has found its soul. The algorithm is complete. The sovereignty is yours.